Hello and welcome. This is Gary Scarano, and we are live on YouTube on Dr. Khanna's seeking nomination to the Supreme Court. And we are here talking about the series on the Bill of Rights. And what is the Bill of Rights? The Bill of Rights are the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. And those Bill of Rights, what they do is they codify or they make legal the rights of the citizens in the United States, and they're extremely important. Last week, we covered the first Bill of Rights, the First Amendment, but not all of it. We only covered the very first, freedom of religion to express. And we covered the fact that since it was first, it was the most important thing in the founding fathers' mind, because that is how and why America was founded, for religious freedom. But today we're going to talk about freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Good afternoon, Dr. Khanna. Let's welcome you. How are you?
Good afternoon, Gary. Thank you very much for continuing with the series. As you said, it's very important for the United States citizens, especially the young adults, to understand the importance of the Bill of Rights. Like you said, we're continuing the series. Today we'll be talking about the freedom of speech or of the press. What does freedom of speech mean? I think this is a common Bill of Rights which everybody talks about and everybody takes advantage about, because they misinterpret things or overinterpret things. So this is a very touchy Bill of Rights that needs to be properly demonstrated or taught to every individuals. Freedom of speech does not mean you can defame somebody or attack somebody with your words, with your pen. That doesn't mean freedom of speech. It means that the government may not jail, fine, or impose civil liability on people or organizations based on what they say or write, except in exceptional circumstances. And what are the exceptional circumstances? That is, clear and present danger if it does not pose that. So if I want to destroy somebody, I cannot utilize or use this particular freedom of speech amendment of the Constitution and destroy somebody. No, that means it implies that you are endangering that person. Is that your understanding, Gary?
Yes, and it's very important that we have freedom of speech, because in almost every other country in the world, especially the communist country, there is no freedom of speech. Rather, there is an extreme restriction of speech, where people are arrested for expressing their views or expressing the dissatisfaction of the leadership. Sometimes even the slightest comment has been, people have been jailed for that. And the founding fathers really wanted a country where people could express their point of view. But there were some restrictions, of course, like you said. And those restrictions are, listen, are you endangering other people? Are you endangering the culture, the society? Is it a clear and present danger? Is it imminent danger? So that there should be, as it says, some restraint put on freedom of speech. It's
Correct.
not the right to say anything, anytime, anywhere, but it's a wonderful freedom that we have in this country. And the sister amendment that goes along with this, which is part of the First Amendment, is freedom of the press.
Right. That is a very important topic. Can you please elaborate that? Because that's where today the social media, the internet news, all these are coming into position.
Yes, and that's a key issue, and I don't know whether I would solve it, but I think the issue is, Dr. Khanna, that the social media is not considered press, so they don't have the same restrictions that the regular press has, which would be like ABC, CBS, the New York Times, the news. So they are considered the press. But let me explain what freedom of the press is first. And it's the right to communicate and express. It's a fundamental right of America because it wasn't allowed in England when we moved over here. The press and religion was controlled by the government. So it gives media, newspapers, TVs, the right to communicate and express their opinions. And what's interesting is they do not have to agree with the leadership. They can express a negative opinion regarding the leadership. It's up to us as Americans to choose who we want to listen to. It's very clear in this society today that if you turn on channel A, you're going to hear a side of a story. If you turn to channel B, you're going to hear a different side. But that's okay because they both have freedom of speech, and it's essential to the republic. And I'm clear in saying a republic because this is not a democracy. America is not a democracy. That word doesn't appear in any of our founding documents. It is a republic, which is ruled by people and representatives. Taxation with representation. We have representation. And the freedom of speech and the freedom of press is really the protection of human rights, because we are protecting the human rights of the American citizen to say what they feel in their heart without reproach. Dr. Khanna, I'd like you to elaborate further.
Isn't that our entire Bill of Rights are for the protection of human rights?
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's not the case today because we are not teaching in school, in universities, in home, the interpretation or the right interpretation of the Constitution. Because the way Constitution is written and the interpretation is made, that matters. Because what you just said about press, what I spoke about this freedom of speech, it sounds very easy, but it is very complicated matter, especially with social media today.
Yes.
Here we say that freedom of speech is used not to put any danger to anybody. But if you see the social media, it does put danger to people.
Mm-hmm.
It does defame people if somebody does not want anything from somebody. So what does the boundaries lies? Freedom of speech or freedom of press? Okay, it doesn't belong to press, but it belongs to freedom of speech. But again, freedom of speech clearly talks about that it has to be legitimate and it should not have any danger to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It is only to raise the voice and opinion about the leaders, about whatever happening in the country. If they don't like the weather, or if they don't like the way the forest department is working, if they don't like the how the mayor is working, making some statements, that's how freedom of speech should be taken. Not, if I don't like you, Gary, I want to defame you, then that is danger. There is no filter there. So, this is something that's why this series, which we chose to podcast frequently during this, nomination process, because I want to make sure that proper education is being given to every citizens of United States from kindergarten to college, universities, and even at home, so that they can understand what the constitutions are. They can understand that this is all about protection of human rights, just like you said. So the uniqueness of this nomination is that we are creating a platform specifically to educate about the Constitution to the young people, to the young adults, juveniles and young adults. They don't know what human rights are. They don't know what their civil rights are. They don't know what they should talk, what they should not talk. It just, the Constitution gives that. And mainly, the Constitution also makes sure that the moral values are there through God consciousness, because it's all written based on 10 commandments of the Bible. So why do we have Moses and the 10 commandments in the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court does not educate the population of United States about the Constitution? So this is the whole purpose of this particular thing which, Gary, you are supporting and making it happen, that we will go with this series as many as possible in a week, so that we can educate people through this podcast. Simplify it. Let's not make it complicated.
And this may be an issue for the Supreme Court in the future. We don't know.
Correct.
Next time,
Thank you very much, Gary, for having me here today.
I'm sorry, thank you very much. I just want to say next time we're going to be covering, continuing on this, we're going to be discussing the freedom of people to meet freely, to assemble. And I want to thank you, and good day. We'll see you next time.